Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm OhBSmall, and today we have another deck discussion. Again, this is for the tournament. This is one of the decks for round 3. It was for the second game against Expert Captain America, and it's called Frosting the Flakes. So I decided to go with this after, playing. Hopefully you've already seen the previous games and previous deck discussions, but when I played utilizing the previous hero, I ended up getting only like 2 points or something like that. I did have the victory, and that was pretty much assured. But I had a lot of things. There were some things I wanted to try to deal with, and that is I wanted to get Captain America his his attacks so they wouldn't be so much, and his schemes. So I figured Iceman could decrease those with his frostbites and maybe get a better result. And hopefully you've watched the game already, because I'm about to say the results, because I did play 4 games altogether. We're allowed to play practice games. I did 3 practice games. Okay. So if you want to go watch the game first, you can, but here are the results there. So in my 3 practice games, I did lose 1 game. And part of it is that I think I was choosing a particularly difficult minion that Captain America puts into play. So the other team, Captain America's team, is supposed to choose a minion that's face down that you go against, right? And then and then they'll flip up, when it's the encounter phase. Okay? And so I always have been choosing Namor. I think Namor is particularly challenging. I wanted to give myself what I thought was the most challenging one. Other people might have chosen other minions to have be the one that gets flipped up. Okay, but he attacks right away, and he has villainous, and he has a tough status, and he has stalwart, right? And like 6 hit points on top of that. And so when I lost that game, it's because I had made some poor decisions on my first play, and allowing Captain America to attack an extra turn during my first turn. So I decided on a different strategy, and that seems to have paid off in this one that was more conservative, not allowing Captain America to attack me right away. So it didn't change the deck at all. I just utilized a slightly different strategy in my first round, and that seemed to make the difference from then on. Okay, so here is the deck. Once again, same rules as before. So if you wish to, if you haven't seen the rules or you want to remind yourself, these are the 4 of us that are in this limited environment draft tournament, right? We drafted, to create our own limited environments. This is my limited environment down here. So you can look at and see what my limited environment is. And then these are the scoring rules during the game. Okay. So I do repeat that in the actual gameplay. So I'm not going to repeat that again here, just to allow this to be shorter. All right, so let's go ahead and examine what cards I have in here. So those of you who've seen me play Iceman before know that I like to have plenty of allies, and I like lots of allies anyway. But you really need him attacking as much as possible, and so we want Utopia in play, and we want these Iceman allies in play to get him to ready constantly to use his attack, and hopefully then trigger cryokinetic perception, draw a card, and maybe even ready him again. So we have, lots of those in here. So Beak is meant to give you some extra threat removal. Forge to help you get either Utopia or X-Mansion into play, Utopia being the first priority. Then we have Glob, who can deal damage if an enemy has an upgrade attached, and of course Iceman attaches his frostbite upgrades to the enemies. So Glob has that opportunity to do that, and did in fact do that in this game. Magic has the possibility of getting rid of a non-elite minion. In some of the games I played, that did in fact happen. Nick Fury is the only non-X-Men ally in here. He's really just here to, get that card draw and, help things to set up. But also, he can finish off a game for you, and he did in fact do that in this game, or help to finish off the game. He could do 4 damage to an enemy, and so that can also be a possibility. Professor X to help with confusing the villain. Psylocke to do the same. Shark Girl. So while Shark Girl is attacking an enemy, she gets +1 ATK for each upgrade attached to that enemy. And so if you watched the gameplay, you saw that I was able to benefit from that, especially because I eventually got an attack training. So I'll mention that. There's our only upgrades we added, 3 attack trainings. gives the ally +1 ATK and +2 hit points. So Shark Girl was able to attack for 3 base attack and then plus the extra damage for the frostbites attached. So that's a very cool little feature there. And then White Queen can help remove a status card from a character. In particular, Captain America gets a lot of tough status cards. So, she might possibly remove that. And then Wolverine, generally speaking, his piercing doesn't work. Although if I had gotten him out at the right time, his piercing could have worked against the minion. But against Captain America, the piercing doesn't work because the shield protects him from piercing. Okay. All right. And then for the events, I added 4 surprise moves. And this is mostly so that I can defeat some minions with Iceman, giving him +2 attack. And so when you make a basic attack against an enemy with an upgrade attached, you get +2 ATK for this attack. If it defeats that enemy, you ready your hero. So with 3 of these, I certainly get that opportunity. I don't think I ended up being able to do that in the game that was videoed, the video game, the one that I recorded. But, it certainly was able to use that in some other games. Superpower training is primarily meant to get cryokinetic perception into play if it's not already in play, but it can also help get a frozen solid in to, just kind of neutralize the enemy completely. And if that's not the best choice, then we've always got Ice Slide or Power Belt. Okay? We have the 5 resources here, the 3 usual doubles, +2 of the power in all of us. To help play, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 allies, but also helps to get these supports into play more easily. And then for the upgrades, I already mentioned the 2 attack trainings and the supports. So 2 team building exercises, which you can't use both at the same time, but you can use them one at a time and help you to play 2 cards because team building exercise is can be used on almost every single card in Iceman's deck. So you could use one of them to play one card and another to play another card. Utopia, we already mentioned for the readying. X-Mansion is in here so that if I go to Alter Ego, I could heal one of my allies and allow them to stay in play and maybe heal Iceman, but it's really meant for the allies. So the intention was to use it with Shark Girl or, that was actually really the main one I was hoping to use it for, but also maybe Wolverine to allow them to do extra attacking. That didn't happen in the game that I played. In fact, it didn't happen in a single game of the 4 games. So maybe that's a card that could be removed from here. But I still liked it for its promise because I could have had Shark Girl attacking for just a whole lot if things had worked out just right. And it came close to working out that way in the final game against the actual game that was recorded against Captain America. Okay, so that's it for this deck discussion. A nice short one for this one. I've talked about, I've done quite a few deck discussions with Iceman recently, so I don't see the need to do too much of a discussion here. All right, have a great one, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.